Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you thought. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be looking at 6 locations that are going to be removed from Fortnite. Yeah, we're not done with Fortnite, all right? No freaking way. So what I wanted to do for my first Fortnite video of 2019 is make a prediction video. 6 locations that will be removed from the map in the next year, within 2019. And I'm gonna make a bet with you guys, okay? At the end of 2019, if I'm wrong that not all 6 locations of these are removed, I will send you a free cookie in the mail. Better yet, I will personally deliver you a free cookie. But for real though, this is important. I mean, the map is always evolving and it's good to know, like, hey, is your favorite dropping location on the chopping block or not? Anyways, before we do get into it, if you guys could please follow me on Twitter, that would be most appreciated. You don't even have to subscribe this time, I'm just saying Twitter. That'd be great. Now let's get into it. Okay, so coming in at our number 6 spot is going to be Polar Peak. Now, I think that we're going to see massive changes over the next year to the entirety of the snow area, but specifically, I think Polar Peak is looking most likely to be removed. So the thing that I think most people are expecting with the snow portion of the map is that it's going to melt. Doesn't mean that the areas are actually going to necessarily be removed, but what I do think is going to happen is we're going to see major changes to that area once all the snow melts. And I mean, if you need any evidence of that, just look at Polar Peak. That area has already melted down quite a bit. But with that being said, just because the environment is going to change, that doesn't necessarily mean that that area is going to be removed. No, I actually think that Happy Hamlet and Frosty Flights are going to stay in 2019, specifically because really they're not reliant on the snow to be viable areas. It's just a town and an airplane hangar. Like, it's really not necessary for there to be snow for those places to make sense. But the thing with Polar Peak is it's already melting. And on top of that, the whole idea to this place and concept is that it starts out as just this barely like lootable area, and it's slowly melted down to the castle that it is now. And honestly, I have a feeling that that's going to continue as time goes on. It seems very likely, and a lot of other people are speculating this too, is that what's going to happen to Polar Peak is as it continues to melt, basically the castle is going to kind of like tear apart and break. Maybe the actual ice that's supporting it is going to like kind of fracture, and parts of it are going to start like tearing down and falling apart, and it's going to end up as ruins. So while this may still kind of be in the map, I think it's very likely that we're going to see at least major changes, if not total destruction of Polar Peak in 2019. Now moving on to our number 5 spot, this is Wailing Woods. Okay, so there's one major reason this is on the list, and it's that goddamn bunker. The bunker that did nothing for a year. Okay, this was like, what, early February, March? I don't even remember when this thing got added to the map because it was so long ago, and nothing has happened. I've already made videos talking about what is going to happen to this, and I said, you know what? If nothing happens by the end of season 6, I think was my prediction, nothing is happening, but I'm doubling down on my statement. Actually, I'm retracting that, I guess, and doubling down on the fact that something is going to happen. The big theory is that there's someone actually living in the bunker. And what makes everything really interesting is over the last few months, we've actually seen big changes to Wailing Woods. Now, not necessarily the bunker itself, but there's a lot of underground activity going on, and I think there has to be an arc to that. Because if you really think about it, it would have been easy for Epic to just put some cabins in Wailing Woods, call it a better looting location, and be done with it. But no, they've got all this weird technology stuff going on in the basement, and I think that there is some storyline to that. So my prediction for Wailing Woods is not necessarily that it's going to be completely removed, but rather so significantly changed to the point where it's going to be unrecognizable from what it is today. And if not that, at least just completely changed to the point where it's at least a different setting as far as gameplay goes. Kind of like Loot Lake. I mean, it's still Loot Lake, but think of how much different it plays today than it did like 6 months ago. Okay, now moving on to our number 4 spot. This is Snobby Shores. So Snobby Shores, really, I just think, is a place that honestly needs to go. The thing with Snobby Shores is I don't think it's a location that is necessarily going to be removed, like with a big update, you know, like kind of like with the sand biome and snow biomes that came in, but I think it's just going to get changed. The thing that's really cool with Epic now is they have logic to what's happening in the map. It's not just like back in season 2 when boom, new tilted towers. Like what they do now is things slowly evolve. And the thing with that is I just feel like Snobby Shores is a prime target to, maybe it's gonna start eroding. Part of the map is gonna start caving in and those houses are gonna start breaking over or something like that. So I really don't think that there's any logical storyline things that could come out of removing Snobby Shores. I just feel like it's been in the game since season 2. It's not a very high traffic area. And for that reason, it seems like probably a lot of people would just like a new area. But anyways, next up, we're gonna move to our number 3 spot, and this is going to be Haunted Hills. And when I talk haunted, I mean the down area and also up top. So there's 2 points as to why I think that this place is gonna be removed. Let me focus on the first point. So specifically for Haunted, this was a Halloween event, right? That new castle that got pushed up there. And I don't see that lasting all of 2019. It was so specific to Halloween, it's kind of the same idea as Polar Peaks in that sense. So I can see just from that standpoint alone, it's probably gonna be removed. But also, Haunted, the bottom area itself, the original location is just another not very populated area. Now, I could keep talking about this, but I wanna incorporate it in the number 2 spot as well. So the number 2 location, I think the more likely spot to be removed is actually Junction. So Junction, for specifically being itself, there's 2 of them now, right? It's kind of like Anarchy Fatal. There's the Paradise, like poop junkyard, and then there's actual Junction. So there's already 2 of them. It's not original now. So for that reason alone, it could easily be taken out. But let's talk about Junk and Haunted together. We look at how the map has been going. Okay, bottom right, we've seen that whole section, like Moisty Prison, that whole corner just completely changed. Then, a couple seasons later, bottom left corner completely changed. Now, the thing with the bottom left especially is that was a very low traffic area. Like, you didn't have a lot of crazy good players dropping Flush Factory. I mean, that just whole area was very, very low traffic, and it made sense to just kind of put some new stuff in there, and we're gonna get more people going to that area of the map. And honestly, I would argue that as of right now, that top left corner is the new bottom left. While they've never been extremely high traffic, just the simple fact that they've been in the game since season 2 and they're not the key focal points of the map really makes me believe that we can see these places being removed in the next year. Haunted is kind of poop, Junk is kind of poop, and really, I just think people are kind of bored of them. I really just could see, following the trend, another new biome coming in from the top left and completely changing the map. I mean, maybe, it's not for certain, but it's definitely, if anything is going to come in and change the map from a corner, it's certainly not going to be the top right with the block, and probably also not the bottom right with the desert. Now, before we do get to the number 1 spot, I also wanted to mention a few places that are absolutely not being removed. Basically, it's the old classics that are still popular. So Pleasant, Retail, Salty, and Tilted. Pleasant, Retail, and Salty have been in since the very start of the game. I feel like Epic is never going to remove at least some of those places, just on the fact that they're the OGs and they kind of want to keep it, keep to the roots. And I didn't include Fatal on this list just because I feel like that is a place that players are much less attached to. We already saw Anarchy Acres removed. I mean, Epic Games has no problem removing duplicates, but also no problem removing farms. But to me, Pleasant, Salty, Retail, those are like the original trio. Tilted is probably never gonna get removed just because it's Tilted. But with that being said, okay, the number 1 spot that I think is going to be removed in the next year is Lonely Lodge. All right, so talk to me, guys. I know. First of all, I want to say that Lonely Lodge is one of the most underrated places in Fortnite. It's not the best place to drop, but it's got crazy loot, crazy maps, and shields. That alone, makes for it being a very good spot, especially because no one drops there. But I think it's gonna be removed. Lonely Lodge is not a high traffic area, and furthermore, that side of the map is just never traveled to. I think that whole shoreline is kind of underutilized. And I really wouldn't be surprised to see not necessarily the corner, but just that entire shoreline down to the desert being completely revamped. You've got the mansion, which it seems like Epic is intentionally phasing out already, and what's right beside the mansion but Lonely Lodge. On top of that, we've got so much stuff going on at Wailing Woods that I can very easily see that just entire section like being poofed out. Something that I've been considering is, maybe with all that like rifting and stuff going on at Wailing Woods, maybe the dudes that's performing all this stuff and setting all this up is going to accidentally just rift the entire part of the map out, kind of like we saw in Season 5. But ultimately, Lonely Lodge, although it's been in the game since the start, I really just can't see it remaining here for another year. And for that reason, I just think it's the area that most needs a revamp and would freshen up the map. And that's obviously what Epic wants to do, so they don't really care about taking out an old spot to keep players playing the game. And yeah, that's it. So guys, thank you very much for watching all the way through. Let me know what you did think. And again, I just wanted to say one last thing. At TheSmithPlays on Twitter, I've been stuck at 215,000 followers for the last 3 months. It just keeps going up and down. And if there's one thing that you do today to help someone out, you could get me to 216,000 followers. Well, listen, I would be forever indebted to you. So that would be awesome. And that's it. You don't have to subscribe. Just follow me on Twitter. That's all I care about right now. Just getting to 216. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you later. Peace.